Hello, dear friends. Today, September 11. It's a very important day in human history. And I think it's a perfect day to talk about love, compassion, spirituality. And I invited for this interview a good friend of mine, a girl with a big open heart, Cassidy BOWKER. Cassidy, she's a yoga teacher, meditation teacher. Hello, hello. How are you?
Hi, Tatiana. I'm well, thank you. Wow.
So good.
Oh, I wanted to mention that, right? This day in history and today's events, and I was wondering if we would end up touching on that. And so I thought that was just beautiful that you paid tribute sort of to that
Of course.
emotion, right? That is today.
Mhm.
And I
It's
really appreciate that.
tragic. It's a tragic from one side, but from the other side, it did wake up so many people around the world. And I think it's not for humanity, it's a day of love. It's a day of kindness, compassion. A lot of people give their lives for saving others. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about being open to the world, love the world, and being spiritual. Cassidy, I know that you do so many things in this field, starting from being yoga teacher, you do breath work, you do sound bathing, right? How did it all
Yeah.
for you? How did it all this spiritual path started for you? Because I know a lot of people going through a lot of things before they comes to that. Very rarely people comes to spirituality like very smoothly from the childhood. So I would really love to hear how it happened to you.
Yeah, what's really interesting about that is it's sort of like a twofold process or unraveling, right, of my spiritual experience and who I am today. First, as a little girl, I mean, I always sort of gravitated to spirituality, and my mother was a really big influence in that. You know, we didn't necessarily go to church or practice a specific religion.
Mhm.
Um, but I remember maybe being 4 or 5 years old, my mother would play these angel meditation tapes. And we would lay there in bed and listen to these meditation tapes together. And she would have angel oracle cards. And yeah, there was always something like that around.
Mhm.
And then my father, he doesn't really subscribe to any religious system. If anything, he says, you know, he doesn't believe in God, and he just believes in compassion, being a good person. So I had those two worlds, right, as who I was raised by, someone who was spiritual and someone who was just, you know, I mean, I would say he was more closed than open, but he did believe in being good, right? And I always craved more. I remember I had friends who would go to church, and I wanted to go to. And at one point, I think I was and we would go to church sometimes, you know, on holidays and whatnot, but just not like religiously, right? And at one point in middle school or high school, my friend invited me to go with her. Was this like Christian music church, and they played rock music, and so I went, and I loved it. I was between 13 and 15 years old, you know, raising my hands up in the air, palm toward the sky, crying, just feeling something like flowing through me. And I could never quite explain it, but I just loved it. There was always something there inside of me. So, you know, life continues, and I was pretty lost. I went to school, Cal State Fullerton, and then I ended up dropping out, and I was pursuing business. And that's not where my heart was. I was always, you know, very artsy and into feeling. Like I was very inspired by feelings, and creative writing. And then um, my grandfather was really, really sick. And I think I must have been like 23, 24 at that point. And when he was really sick, I would drive from Orange County to San Diego, so that's about, it can be between 2 and 3 hours depending on traffic, to go and see him in the hospital. And just driving back and forth and sort of being the middle person in between the doctors and the nurses and our family, and being quite involved in receiving all of his, health information at that point. I had this epiphany that, oh my God, this is the world I'm supposed to be in. I really want to be a healer. I'm so intrigued by science and anatomy and physiology and what's going on in his body, and how can I help him, and trying to understand his medications and his diagnoses. So I expressed that to him, and it was a really big deal. I think in that moment, that epiphany, it hit, and it hit hard. And then I went that same week and enrolled in a vocational school to become a nurse.
Wow.
I told him that I enrolled, and he told all the doctors, all the nurses, this is my granddaughter, she's going to be a nurse, I'm so proud of her. And then he passed away. So, he passed away days after I had enrolled in nursing school. And so I really, honor him in being that messenger for me, right? And putting some of those feelings into words, and starting me on this healer path and journey. So I became a nurse, and right out of nursing school, I received this beautiful, beautiful position in a hospital system that I loved. They really valued healing the whole person, mind, body, and soul. And that resonated with me, of course. I didn't just want to pass out medications. I didn't just want to clean wounds, right? And I knew that in a hospital setting, you're experiencing an acute, something that's happening right now, condition. There is, right, we need to act fast and we need to act now. But what happened to get there? How did you come to that point? Right? And for a large majority of these folks, these patients that I would see, these conditions had been manifesting for years and years, right? So there was something more. And after a couple months of starting that beautiful job with a team that I am so grateful for still to this day, just beautiful people, I was pregnant with twins. And after giving birth to our twins, my husband, basically our world flipped upside down, and I thought I would be back to work. No problem. No problem. Give me 4 months and I'll be fine.
Right.
No.
Knocks on the door.
Yeah. No, it was quite challenging, right? Sleep deprivation as a mom, it's real. It's real. So after that first year, right, my main focus was the babies and myself. Like, my self-care was huge because I experienced so much, postpartum anxiety of having 2 newborns at once, and navigating that experience, so delicate and fragile. And after that first year, my husband, who is another messenger in my life, he shared with me, you don't have to go back to becoming a nurse. And I said, what are you talking about? That's what I do. Of course I'm going to go back to being a nurse. I paid so much, how much money I paid for school? And he laughed and he said, no, I don't know. I think there's more to it than that. And I think there's more to you than just that. So just think about it.
Oh, wow.
I started
He really knows you.
He really knows me. He's magical. He's magical. And actually, a really interesting part of my story too is, my grandpa, who was a really beautiful part of my life, obviously, his death date, the day that he died and transitioned out of his body, is my husband's birthday. And growing up, my grandpa he would always ask me and tease me, who's your beau? Do you have a beau right now? And that's a nickname for a boyfriend. No. And now I am married. For those of you that do not know, my husband's name is Bo. So many synchronicities. So I started practicing yoga.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah. I started practicing yoga again, and it was, you know, my first day back into yoga, like a yoga class in a yoga studio. And I looked around and I was listening to what the teacher was saying, the message that she was giving, and I just had another one of these aha moments, epiphany, just clear revelation flowing through me. And I thought, oh my God, this is healing. This
That's what
is,
you want to do.
yeah, this is mindfulness, and we're getting somewhere here. So I knew immediately I needed to, you know, apply for my yoga teacher training, and I did that in Bali and had a really beautiful time.
Oh,
That was also a big deal because I had to leave our babies and my husband at home for a month, and the babies at that time were about 16 months old, so they were still quite young.
he's a hero, your husband.
He is a hero. You know, we planned it out, and we had support. My parents stayed for a week during that time too. We made sure that he had all kinds of females on his team, yeah, to step in. And thank God for modern technology, right? Because we're able to video chat and send voice messages and pictures, and so there was that. Yoga was just
What kind of yoga it was?
So this was just vinyasa style yoga. And what I was more interested in was not the physical practice. And when I arrived in Bali, um, I was shocked to hear that not very many people, like there was a good number of women in our group who weren't quite aware of the deep spirituality of yoga. And that's why I was there. I wasn't there to, you know, tone people's body and work out. That was not why I was there. So I have like a very deep love for the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And, you know, many people talk about yoga as being union, and it is. But yoga, really what it is the science of the mind, and understanding, right, the fluctuations of the mind stuff that get us caught up in these everyday dramas and melodramas, right, that causes so much anxiety and pain and suffering, that really is unnecessary. I mean, we don't have to do that. We can choose another way. You know, I truly believe that pain is inevitable, right? Because we're here in a human body, in a human form. But suffering is a choice.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so there was all of that yogic journey, right? And I came home and I still felt that, you know, coming out of that experience, I still felt that there was more. There was still deeper healing that I could access. And not just for me, right? This was for me, absolutely, but this was with the intention of healing others too, and holding space and us doing this together. Because I really truly believe that though you appear in a different body, and sure, yes, you are, Tatiana, in a different body, in a different form, we are still so connected.
Absolutely.
We're still in and of the same,
Part of
you know,
the thing, yeah. It's like fingers,
right.
you know, like one finger, another finger, but we're part
Yeah.
of body, divine body.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So then I found breath work healing. So in yoga, we practice pranayama. Pranayama is the breath work, right? There's many different styles, alternate nostril breath, there's breath of fire. You've shared with me that you really love breath of fire and you find it activating, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Super energy.
So there's all of that, but this was something different. So my mentor, his name is David Elliott, and he has a couple of books. One is The Reluctant Healer, and the other is Healing. And he actually began his journey in his adulthood as an actor, and he really resisted all of the signs, you know, signs that were telling him, you know, that he should be a healer, that this was his path, and then eventually he, you know, listened to the call. But so this style of breath is a two-part breath. And basically the intention of this work, you're lying down. So you're laying down the whole entire time, nothing underneath the neck. So there's a clear line of energy from the tips of your toes, right, up through the spine, the neck, the crown of the head. And throughout life, throughout time, we experience, trauma, we experience joy, we experience everything, right? A wide range of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And we store it and we bottle it up and we compartmentalize it. And why? Because we don't quite have enough time because we're so busy.
Process, right?
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
So in this breath, when you're lying,
right? It's like digestion. When you eat something, you need to give time to your body to digest it. It's the same thing. You're absolutely right. This is great.
yes, exactly. So his intention basically is that, you could go into a breathwork class, there could be no theme, there could be a theme, doesn't matter, right? You're going to go where you need to go. And as you start the breath, so you breathe the first breath, everything is open mouth. You breathe the first breath into your belly, and then up to the heart, and out the mouth.
Wow.
So just the whole ride, right? And usually it's about maybe 40 minutes or so. And you can do it as,
Mm-hmm.
maybe for 3 minutes. It just depends on your body and what you want to access in that moment. But
So you're starting from the belly, right?
starting from the belly, basically you're pulling everything up, the full length of your legs, you're pulling everything that you store down, that you bottle up,
Mm-hmm.
that you avoid, whatever it is. And then you're drawing it into your solar plexus. So solar plexus chakra is willpower, is self-confidence, right? Is gut instincts and awareness. And then we draw it up a step further into the heart, right? So first we give light, we give attention, and then we need a little help, right? By the heart. The heart infuses, wraps around, holding space, right? Compassionate witnessing and deep listening, love. And then we exhale through the mouth to release with gratitude. Because at some point in our life, that experience served us.
Of course. Everything is a lesson, 100%. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So
to go further to somebody else.
exactly, yeah. So as you carry along in your breathwork journey, you're moving, you're shifting energy,
Mm-hmm.
you are activating your whole entire body, so you'll feel your energy, your cells, everything just activating and maybe tingling. You may notice your hands cramping up, right? And that it has spiritual meaning. It also has physical anatomy and physiology type of meaning and significance, right? Because you're in a state of hyperoxygenation. So you really need to be aware. And my intention in the classes that I held is to continuously remind that this is your body, this is your practice, and this is your choice. So you slow down when you feel like you need to slow down, and you speed up when you feel like you need to speed up.
Most of those classes, they usually pushing you to your maximum. Especially being a woman, I always was thinking that it should be different because we have completely different purposes. Sorry for being very pro unisex person, but we are different. So the work should be different. We should have less aggressive towards ourselves for sure.
You are so right about that, and I really appreciate that you said that. My husband Bo, he practices that style of breath work and he loves it, but he also right now is very into Wim Hof, and he just finished some training with Wim Hof, and that style of breath work. Have you heard of Wim Hof?
Oh no, what is that?
Oh, okay. So Wim Hof, he's also known as the Iceman. So he does breath work, and I mean, honestly, I don't really know too much about it to speak on it, but he also believes in the cold plunges. So you like submerge yourself in water,
Okay.
like ice cold water.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, after your breathwork practice, which is like a biohacking technique, these ice baths, and that's why there's like cryotherapy
Right.
that you can do.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
I'm a little too scared to do that.
Then again, I don't think it's a very feminine thing to do. It's way too aggressive to your body.
Right,
It's
right.
shock therapy kind, right?
Right. Yeah. So I don't know enough about it, right, to speak about it yet. But there are many women who are practicing it and experiencing tremendous health benefits. So I'm
Okay.
curious, right? I'm curious. I
Okay.
don't know.
Go back to the more human way of breath work.
Yeah, yeah. So,
So
anyways,
I understand, right? It's a complex of different exercises in order to put yourself in the right state of mind. Besides doing yoga, besides doing just simple meditation, add extra breath work. And depends on who you are, woman, man, what are you looking, what are your goals? You will choose this one or this one, right?
yes, I completely agree with that. I don't claim that, you know, the practices or the healing modalities that I offer are the end all be all whatsoever. I think because we are so different and because, you know, in physical form so different that what resonates for me may not resonate for you, and that's totally okay. And find your thing. Find
Yep.
what feels groovy in your own body. I fully support that. But I found, you know, this style of breathwork to be the most profound, to be the most light,
Mhm.
you know, light in the sense of you are still empowered in your own body and in control of your own breath. And this particular my mentor, David Elliott, he really is like Ram Dass. Do you have any background of Ram Dass, or do you know who Ram Dass is?
That's why I
So,
invited you to find out about all these things.
ooh, so
Tell me about
exciting.
it.
So Ram Dass is a really beautiful speaker and teacher. And oh goodness, what can I say about him? I'll just have to send you some information. So he has a podcast. He's passed away. He passed away last year. And he was around for quite some time. And he, you know, spent a lot of time in India and in and amongst the yogic practices, right? And he was also previous to that, he would teach um, psychology, I believe, and he was a well-known professor. And he, because he was a well-known professor, he was very rich and he lived a really luxurious lifestyle. And then he ended up was just very curious into a lot of plant medicines
Mhm.
and psychedelics. You know, he was in the psychedelic movement too. And then went to India and um, you know, he felt that there was something more. You know, when he could access something higher in his psychedelic trips, he really wanted to stay there, and how could he be there all the time? So he ended up studying yoga and seeking out different gurus and teachers. And so he is somebody who I love to listen to speak about spirituality and all things in that realm. But he jokes a lot. And David Elliott also jokes a lot because one thing that I think is so important along this inner work, right, journey that we're doing and embarking on, is to laugh,
Of
is to not take things so seriously. As
course.
you know, there's a way to hold safe and sacred space for somebody that isn't overbearing or too fixed on the darkness, you know. And I think that when you're too fixed on like today it's going to be heavy and just this, or today it's just going to be light, only focus on this, you know, then you create duality.
Mhm.
And I do not agree with duality, right? Duality is something like we have a right hand and we have a left hand, but that's just not true. We have a hand,
Right.
right? It's like all connected from one side to the other. If you look at the fascia in the whole, like the whole entire body, everything's connected. But us as humans, we need to identify things with labels. So I say like, oh, this is this muscle, this is my quadricep, you know, muscle right here, and this is my calf muscle. But really, it's all interconnected.
Hmm.
And this is duality, right? There's no hierarchy, there's no separation.
I love it. I agree.
Yeah,
Very much so. Absolutely. That's where the whole problem starts, from this duality.
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I had a friend the other day, Tatiana, who, she has a wellness program right now, and I love her. She's one of my best friends. And she, sent out an email touching in with the group, and it was very lovely. And she, wrote a final sentence, and she was talking about because, you know, um, basically we can be strong and we can take time to pause, these sort of opposites. And she said, because we live in a dualistic world. And I reached out to her and I said, I loved your email, and but I'm curious, I noticed you said that we live in a dualistic world. Have you heard of non-duality? And for quite some time, I had not heard of non-duality either. And she's a seeker like me, and she's open to having these conversations. And so I knew that was okay, right? I wasn't overstepping any boundaries. And she laughed and she was like, of course, yeah, I do know non-duality, but I feel like when you're with and in and amongst students who are sort of new to all these concepts, that you have to teach duality before you teach non-duality. So I wonder, what are your thoughts about that?
Very interesting. No, I think
Yeah.
I agree. Absolutely agree with that. It's not like black and white. It's all part of this one color. It's all together. It's not man and woman. It's a human being. It's a souls that have different experience either in the man body or woman's body, and by putting each other next to like in front of each other, that's when the problem starts, when we start saying, oh, we are so different, I'm better, no, I'm better, oh no, we want to be equal, but no, we're not going to be equal. So it's like the whole problems of this world comes from this duality. And again, if we're not going to talk about like big evil, because I don't know right now yet what on this concept, but to me, good and bad, it doesn't really exist either, because something that I think is good might somebody look at it and think that is completely wrong. So again,
Yeah.
some kind of like putting opposition to one thing to another. So let's
Yeah.
get rid of this duality. Let's just
I
embrace the universe.
I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's just such an interesting conversation to have. But you just inspired me right now. I do believe that there really is no bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe this because another tool that I pull from and I'm always learning from is A Course in Miracles. A Course in Miracles is this book. It's like a manual. Have you ever heard of it? And it's also like science of mind. When I read the Course in Miracles, I also read the Yoga Sutras, and they just like really make sense. It's not yoga is not a religion, right? A Course in Miracles is not a religion either.
It's like
Nothing
when
is
you say breath work, it's a religion. No, it's pretty much the same thing.
yeah,
We all have
yeah,
bodies and trying
exactly,
to harmonize it one way or another. That's what
exactly.
yoga is, like getting in touch with your inner you through physical activity somehow.
Yeah. And I'm just sort of in this place of neutrality right now, and I feel like these books, both of these works, they're mirror images, really. They're not teaching you what to think. They're
Mhm.
giving you tools so that you can think for yourself, right? If anything, they're teaching you how. Like, here you go, this is how to think, because we don't know, because we just absorb and learn from everything around us. And, I love my mom, I love my dad, but they don't have all of the answers in the whole entire world. And they're also, have pre-existing belief systems that were influenced by whoever they were around from, trauma, from the media in their upbringing, right, as per their generation. Um, so, A Course in Miracles would say that only love is real,
Mhm.
that love is the only thing that exists, that anything outside of that, if it appears bad, right, that's just simply a call for love. And so you look at things like hate, right? And so where does hate come from? Well, hate stems from fear. And what is fear? Fear is a call for love. So this has helped me tremendously in even just our relationship. right? So when Bo and I are at home and we are in an argument for whatever reason, he comes in at me and he comes in hot and he's on fire, right? And he's spewing out his venomous things that he wants to say, or me, right? I come in hot and I'm on fire and I'm spewing out my venomous things that I want to say. We pause. I mean, it's taken us many years to get to this point, and a lot of like deep looking and like all of these healing tools and modalities, right? Especially Course in Miracles. We have an awesome spiritual coach. And I can tell in that moment, you know, any judgment that he has about me is really about him. I am just a mirror, you know, triggering him in whatever way that he needs for deeper healing. And that's not to excuse me from whatever I've done, right? I'm not dismissing what I've done. I still hold myself accountable, but I know, you know, that I'm not the one who's going to soothe him or reassure him, right? Or heal him. He has to do that for himself. And this is what I also explain to whoever is sitting in group with me, right? In circle with me. I am not healing you. Like, you are doing this yourself. I am but a mirror for you.
You're good.
That's very important to me, you know, because I want people to understand that, again, I may be sitting here appearing to you as a teacher if we're sitting in circle together, but really, if you were in my body, this experience is a learning experience for me every single time. I have takeaways every single time, so roles reversed, right? Depending on your perspective.
Absolutely.
So I just love all of this stuff, and I'm constantly pulling from different things. And so basically in our relationship, I'm then able to look at him in those times and just kind of, you know, be quiet, listen, wait till he's done purging it all out, and then tell him, you know, honey, I love you so much, and I hear that you're hurting, and I know that you need love, and may I hug you and may I hold you, and I'm so sorry that you're, you know, feeling all of these feelings and that I triggered you in this way. And I hold myself accountable, right? I triggered him in whatever way. Maybe it was intentional, maybe not. And then, you know, we're loving and we're holding each other, and it's compassion. And in that moment, he may have been like, so angry. And then he just retreats.
Fantastic that you both have this high emotional intelligence level. And to find another person who on the same level as you are, you guys are super lucky. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of, I'm pretty much sure that emotional intelligence is something that we are born with, but it's depends on us if we wanted to develop it. And if you both, as I can see, Bo is doing the same thing. He's study. He wants to get to better version of himself. So I think it's fantastic, your union.
Yeah. He's magical. He's beautiful.
Like checking out my little dog that constantly trying to eat something around me. I have a puppy, and it's a disaster. It's just, Mishka, stop.
I can't hear. Yeah.
Yeah. My dear Cassidy, we have very little time left. Do you believe in God?
I do. I do believe in, I like, okay, when you say, do you believe in God? What I hear from you is a word that can be synonymous with so many things, right? Because it's not just God in one form. He's a male, he's a guy, he's up there. I don't believe that. I believe, you know, God, goddess, like great spirit, divine intention, universal guidance, all of those things, like, yeah, that there's this power beyond us that is so magical and so beautiful and all loving. And
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Cassie, that was very, very, very nice. Thank you. And I think it's perfect day for this kind of talk. Sending you tons of love. Send hello to your beautiful husband, kids, and namaste. Talk to you very soon.
Thank you, Tatiana. Love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye.